Welcome to the Virtual Manager podcast. My name's Anna Russell. I'm an artist manager and founder of The Virtual Manager. Throughout my career, I've developed and managed several music artists from new unsigned acts right through to globally successful ones. This podcast is for all unmanaged or independent music artists who want to start, build, or grow a successful, sustainable music career. This episode of the Virtual Manager podcast is a little bit different from what you've heard so far. In this podcast, I want to be able to share lessons, news, and observations from my day-to-day experience as an artist manager from within the music industry and bring those to you. They're not instructional lessons per se, as much as the other episodes, which tend to focus on giving you action steps to follow. But I think they're just as insightful for your development as an artist and getting some visibility across the way the music industry works. I'm calling these episodes Diary of an Artist Manager, as they literally come from my notebook, which I write thoughts and experiences in as I go from meeting to project to gig each week. This week, I wanted to talk about something which, although can be intangible to measure, I genuinely believe holds music artists of all genres and all levels back. And I've seen it happen several times throughout my career already. And that behavior is criticizing, bad-mouthing, or being in any way disrespectful about another artist's music. It's something I've been saying for years now, but I was reminded of it this week after seeing a high-profile artist very publicly criticizing the music of another artist broadly in their space. And they did this on social media, meaning that hundreds of thousands of people, plus the artist they were disrespecting, saw it. Now, disrespecting another artist's music and voicing this, either publicly or privately, is something I simply don't understand. And here's why. I don't believe elitism has any place in music. One of the most wonderful things about music is just how broad the musical spectrum is. Now, for you as an artist, songwriter, or producer, that allows you enormous scope for creativity. And for music fans, it provides a really rich and diverse selection of music for them to choose from and support and enjoy. It's really important to remember that there are just as many musical tastes and listeners out there as there are types of music. And there's no definitive measure of what makes music valuable. There's not one taste we should all be adhering to. Your definition of what makes music good is not the ultimate definition, and neither is mine. It's merely ours. There's lots of snobbery as well around whether music is commercial or credible. The insinuation being that these two things are completely mutually exclusive. They're not. Being commercial as an artist doesn't inherently make your music bad, and being underground as an artist doesn't automatically make the music cool. Essentially, if a style of music or a certain artist's music resonates with someone and has meaning to them, then it has value. Simple as that. None of us get to decide which songs, albums, or artists those will be. Another reason why it just simply doesn't make sense to be critical of another artist's music is you're not in competition with any other artists, so there's no need to try and pull them down. Your role as a music artist is to make the music you want to make and then get it in front of fans of that music. And every other artist's job is to do the exact same thing. For the most part, this means each music artist is in entirely their own lane. It's irrelevant what other artists are doing, especially if they have a completely different fan base demographic to you. There really is a fan base out there for every single artist. It's just your job to find them. One artist having success does not in any way limit another artist's success. You are not fighting for the same opportunities as other artists. You're trying to create your own opportunities. And that really does mean that they're infinite, especially if you are focused on the most important thing, which is building a fan base. Also, don't assume that you should be further ahead than another artist because you're more talented. That's not how things work. Hard work really does beat talent in this industry, and for that matter, in most fields, and so does having a positive attitude. If you see an artist that you don't think is as good or as talented as you, then that should actually be cause for celebration rather than complaining. Because if they can do it, there is absolutely no reason why you can't. Unless, of course, you're wasting time criticizing others instead of staying focused on just moving forward. Finally, another reason why I just think this is a behavior that holds artists back is bitterness and complaining, especially publicly, are really not attractive traits. Fans don't like to see or hear artists being disrespectful or bitter, and the music industry don't want to work with artists who seem bitter and negative. I was actually discussing this podcast with a DJ producer friend of mine who then shared with me that he was actually once dropped by a very reputable agent exactly for this reason. He had badmouthed another DJ online. His agent had seen it. Lots of fans complained and the agent simply dropped them. Now, it wasn't about the agent sticking up for this other artist, but to the agent, it simply meant that his artist had the wrong attitude. And in turn, this attitude is likely to surface in the way they go about their work or their role as an artist more broadly. Remember that you can't be very negative about other artists and your peers, and you can't be really negative about the music industry and then simultaneously succeed in that same industry. And I just want to be clear here. I'm not saying that we can't criticize aspects of the music industry that aren't working. I'm not saying we can't try and better the industry that we're in. But to be consistently negative about it and yet at the same time be trying to move forward in it are really two different energies working against one another. Music is about enriching lives and connecting people, and I think we'd all agree on that. And therefore, I'd love to see everyone in the industry and all artists to be focused on this first and foremost, and I include myself in that as well. Finally, all listeners and music lovers want to see themselves and their tastes represented in music, so let's be inclusive of all artists and all genres. You are, of course, entitled to your opinion, and you're very entitled to share that opinion. But before you do, I would encourage you to think about what exactly would be the purpose of that. What will you achieve by doing so? Is it a helpful or valuable contribution to the discourse around music? Does it help to make the culture in the music industry more positive or more negative? Is it inclusive and supportive of your musical peers? Or is it hurtful to somebody else's life's work? Does it in any way progress your music career? And that might be the most important question to think about for yourself. If the answer is no, perhaps keep the opinion to yourself. You don't need to like or value everybody's music, but you do need to recognize that their experiences as an artist might not be so different from your own. Surviving, let alone thriving in music requires hard work, discipline, personal sacrifices, and it comes with lots of highs and lows. So you can imagine that all other artists have gone through each of these just as you have. It's that which earns your career success and longevity. Therefore, respect is owed to every artist who has the courage and tenacity to pursue a career that is anything but stable. Let's not make other artists' journeys more difficult by not supporting one another. But for your own career, if you're paying more attention to or undermining another artist's progress and success, you're only limiting your own. Stay in your own lane and wish other artists well the way you'd like them to wish you well. By doing so, hopefully we can all make the industry a more positive place. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Do you ever catch yourself being negative about other artists' music? And could you be undermining your own work by doing so? Send me a message and let me know. Thanks for listening this week. I will be back next Tuesday with the next episode of the Virtual Manager podcast. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Virtual Manager podcast. If you've found it useful, I invite you to check out the Virtual Manager membership site. The Virtual Manager is an essential resource for independent music artists who want to start, build, or grow a successful, sustainable music career. It ensures that you have the foundations of that music career in place, then helps you to build on those to achieve your music career goals. With monthly music industry training, a library of tools and resources, A&R feedback on your music, access to live Q&As with me, plus an active supportive community of like-minded artists, the Virtual Manager is the perfect place to be for any unmanaged or independent artist. The Virtual Manager relaunches very shortly, so to get early bird access at the lowest membership price, join the waiting list now at thevirtualmanager.co.uk. Finally, please take a minute to review and subscribe to this podcast. It helps more independent music artists to find us.